Hi, welcome back. It's Laura at Hyperstamper. This is a little bit of a makeover from a journal that's been in my shop for a while, and I sort of had to examine it and wonder why it wasn't moving to a new home. It was just a plain cover, so I gave it a little bump up. I've added some hand-tatted trim up here. That's antique, and the original linen that it was on. And I added a bangle with my vintage beads that I threaded and some matching ribbons to the cover and some extra lace up at the top and some crochet down the side. So I think I've given it a new cover, and I'm really quite pleased with it. This is a large journal. This one is 6 by 8.5. So it's a really good size, bigger than most of my journals, and it is quite an old book. I've left the original pages in here. They're just beautifully worn. The original first plate is in here, and as you can see, this one is from 1925. So let me show you this beautiful junk journal that is absolutely stuffed with authentic antique and vintage ephemera. I don't use any commercial products in my junk journals ever. So when you see a photograph or a postcard, that's all real ephemera. This right here is a beautiful 1920s postcard that came out of an old photo album. It's either 4 sisters or 4 friends. I love it. Look at their dresses. They must have been going somewhere special. The hats, everything. Just perfect antique photo. And back here, I've just put a little tag with some antique paper, and I stamped the word thankful on there. Because I use my journals for gratitude, but they could be used for just about anything. I made a pocket here out of a beautiful antique doily, and then this is a plate from the 1800s, and that has antique paper on the back so that you can journal on it. I try to do that as often as I can. Here is a bingo card from the 1950s that you can journal on the back of or upcycle it. And then this is just a really fun little pocket or journaling spot here, hidden under that flap. Another one over here, some beautiful antique clusters. This came out of a 1926 student's scrapbook, and this was a project on chickens and geese, so fowl, I guess, and just love it. I really do. I think it's wonderful. It's quite brittle, but really fun to have. Here is an antique children's book page that I've added vintage or antique paper to the front and back so that you could journal on there. Another antique pocket page here, antique page here, 1938 Paris, France Almanac page here, front and back. That one is from the 22nd and 23rd of October. The new home, I love that. That's a great little log cabin there from a vintage children's book. And a little triple pocket here. This came from the Lincoln Souvenir book from 1955. And then this is a U.S. vintage stamp, an airmail stamp. Isn't that great? From Olive. I love that. That's such an old name, wonderful old name. And then this is Pearl, another old name from 1950s. Receipt there that you can journal on as well. Another crochet pocket here. And in here I have a 1915 Girls Own Almanac page, the Geranium Lady. Look at that wonderful image there. So front and back there, very old, very sweet and special. And let's tuck that right back in there, and that's all mounted on a vintage atlas page. That is Wild Meg. I believe that's one of the characters from Little Women. And we've got some Canadian birch bark up here and another antique stamp down there. And 2 tea-dyed papers. So those aren't antique. Those are the only things that aren't. The ephemera is. This is a wonderful page from a 20s book. And I love this, different hair trims for parties. And look at this wonderful icing ad. Isn't that fantastic? And then some great party recipes. But look at this. Wrigley Spearmint Gum looks exactly the same to this day. I guess they don't have a marketing department. Here's a 1937 book house page made into a pocket, and that's the things to make and do from the 30s. This is just a dust jacket that I really liked because of how old it was. And I turned it into some pockets and journaling space here. And here is a 1950s how to dance. And this one is the waltz. Isn't that wonderful? Just look at the, oh, I love it. So I just think everything in here is so fun to go through. This would make such a good Mother's Day gift too. Okay, so here we have another Bobbsey twin page here, mounted on top of a 1921 music sheet, so over 100 years old. And this is a little photograph that it was torn like that when I got it. It's a mom and her little girl here hugging on the street. So I thought that was really sweet. I hand stamped some images on here. And this is a 1926 blank ledger page. Sometimes you get the wonderful watermarks in them too. I wonder if this one has it. No. If you look at some of the ledger pages I have, it's really fun to hold it up to the light to see the original watermarks on there. Here is a plate from Currier and Ives, 1904, Franklin's Experiment. And then in here is a plate from an art book. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that stunning? So you can do anything you like with that, upcycle it, journal on it, or just enjoy it just the way it is. A very old dictionary page here. So I didn't put anything on there because it's a bit too flimsy to hold too much, but you could glue a photograph on there. I suggest doing it in the middle or closer to the spine so it doesn't tear. Journaling space here on the back of an antique page, another antique stamp. This is from a 1955 Polish embroidery book. Isn't that lovely? I love it. Another antique page here. I love this Chez Nous, French Our House. Madeleine, that is a nice little French girl there, and a Morocco stamp from the 50s, so that's vintage. This is from the early 1900s, over 120 years old, and that is How to Make a Garden. That's a beautiful plate from that book. Just some really fun crochet bits. Here's the Empire State Building, and this has 2 vintage cards and a night guardsman dial, which is really cool, from the late 1800s. Make Birds Touch Wings. I love that. And this is from the 1928 Billboard magazine. So really cool ads here. Wanted burlesque people. They're really fun ads. That is a stamp made with all vintage and antique ephemera. And then back here's another blank ledger page for journaling on. And look at this one here. That is a wonderful old postcard from the, I can tell by the font that is from the 1920s. And that is from where I'm from. I'm just outside of Toronto. And then another plate here. And a 1926 ledger page here. And look at that, Cyrano de Bergerac from a Theatre Arts magazine. This is from a 1920s children's book. Look at the little squirrel down here. I love it. And more of that same magazine page there. An antique paper there made into a journaling pocket. And the last few pages of the book are also original. I love the end page. So there you go. That's going into my Etsy shop, hyperstamper.etsy.com. I hope you'll come back and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.